Welcome to The Explainer. You know, we're all running on a kind of inner software, a code that dictates a lot of our lives. And today, we're going to dig into what that ancient code is and how you can learn to rewrite it. You ever have one of those days where you're just on fire, and then the next day, you can't even get off the couch? What's driving that? Is it just random? Or is there something deeper at play? Like a hidden operating system that's shaping your every single thought and action. So, here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to look at this idea of a personality's operating system. Then we'll meet the three Gunas. These are its core components. We'll see how they're locked in this constant inner struggle. And most importantly, we'll talk about how you can break free from the code and what life looks like on the other side. All right, so let's jump right in. To really get a handle on our inner code, we've got to go back to the source, to this foundational idea of where all the stuff of reality, including our own minds and bodies, actually comes from. So the Bhagavad Gita gives us this concept called Prakriti. Now, you can think of it as, well, like a cosmic womb. It's the material source of the whole universe. And out of this womb, three absolutely fundamental qualities or forces are born. And these three forces, they're called the Gunas. And they are the actual building blocks of your personality's operating system. Their names are Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. And what they do is influence everything, your energy, your moods, your ambitions. And in doing so, they effectively bind our consciousness to this physical world. Okay, so what are these three gunas really? Let's get to know them because, understanding them, well, that's the key to understanding yourself. Now, take a look at this. What's really wild is how each of these gunas traps us or binds us in its own unique way. And look at sattva, it's purity and light, right? But it still binds you through an attachment to happiness and knowledge. This tells you right away, this isn't some simple good versus evil thing. It's way more nuanced than that. Okay, so first up is sattva. This is your mode of goodness, right? Harmony, balance, light. When you're feeling sattvic, you're on top of your game. Clear, healthy, peaceful. But here's the catch. The source warns us that it traps us with an attachment to that feeling of happiness. It's like being locked in a beautiful room. The text calls it a golden chain, but it's still a chain. Then we've got rajas. This is pure energy, passion, action. It's the engine behind ambition and desire. It literally comes from craving, and it keeps us, well, restless. Always chasing the next thing, the next achievement, the next high. It binds us through our attachment to doing. And last, there's tamas. Think of this as darkness, inertia, a kind of spiritual gravity. When tamas takes over, you feel lazy, foggy, sleepy. It binds the soul through what the text calls heedlessness, basically just not paying attention, being lost in a fog, completely ignorant of what's really going on. Right, so these three forces aren't just sitting there in separate little boxes. They're alive. They're dynamic. The text describes them as being in this constant, perpetual tug of war for control inside of you. Just imagine your mind is like this chart here. At any given moment, one of these gunas is going to surge ahead and dominate the others. So if you wake up totally driven, ready to conquer the day, that's rajas in the driver's seat. If you're feeling calm, centered, and everything just makes sense, sattva has taken over. And if you literally can't drag yourself off the couch to do anything, yep, that's tamas winning the battle for the day. This is so key. The guna that's dominant in you literally changes how you see the world. So to a sattvic person who really values peace and clarity, a rajasic person just seems frantic, maybe a little unfocused. But to a tamasic person who just wants to chill, that same rajasic person seems annoyingly hyperactive. See? We're all looking at the exact same reality, just through totally different coded lenses. Okay, so if we're all being yanked around by these invisible forces, what are we supposed to do about it? Are we just stuck? Well, according to the source material, the answer is a definite no. There's actually a path to breaking free, to hacking the system. And this quote really says it all. The goal isn't to get rid of the gunas. I mean, you can't. They're like the laws of physics for our inner world. The real path to freedom is about changing your relationship to them. It's about becoming, like the text says, one unconcerned, an observer who is no longer moved by their constant push and pull. So Here's the practical game plan. It's really a 4-step process of mindful observation. First, you just identify what's happening. That feeling, that's Rajas. Or, okay, Tamas is creeping in. Then you just watch it. You observe it come and go without judging it or getting swept up in it. That means you don't hate on yourself for feeling lazy, and you don't desperately cling to that burst of energy when it fades. You just watch. You become the neutral witness to your own mind. So what happens when you get good at this? What does life look like for someone who's actually mastered this inner OS? Well, the text has a name for this person, a Gunatita. It literally means one who has transcended the gunas. And a Gunatita, they have this incredible inner stability. Life's ups and downs don't throw them off. Praise doesn't make them arrogant. Criticism doesn't crush them. You know, they see a lump of dirt, a rock, and a piece of gold as being made of the same essential stuff. They treat friends and foes with the same steady mind. They've let go of that feeling that I am the one doing everything. And just to be super clear, this isn't about becoming an emotionless robot. No way. It's actually the complete opposite. It's about achieving such a deep and profound inner freedom that you can finally engage with the world fully and skillfully, because you're no longer a slave to those internal programs telling you what to want, what to fear, and what to ignore. So, I'll leave you with this question. Which guna is running your operating system today? Right now? The next time you feel that pull, whether it's passion or peace or just plain laziness, ask yourself, is this sattva, rajas, or tamas? Because just by starting to observe that inner world, you take the single most powerful step from being just a passive user to becoming the conscious architect of your own experience.